Ethiopia is a country of contrasts, a place of proud traditions, with a long and sometimes troubled history. A country of dramatic landscapes where more than 80 different peoples live, many of them in extreme poverty. The population here has almost doubled since the 1980s, when dramatic scenes of famine shocked the world. Ethiopia is the largest producer and exporter of coffee in Africa and is widely regarded as the true home of coffee. In 2007, a group of Irish business people connected with the coffee trade paid a visit to the Harar district, a coffee growing region in the east of Ethiopia.
Three and a half years ago, we came to a village called Ilia Diratu. I asked for a setting that was unique in coffee. When we got to the village, we got such a welcome. It was the most emotional time or event I've ever gone through. There was about 600 locals, and they did these ceremonies, and they danced and they fed us and they gave us the best welcome any Irish group could ever get. And when we looked around, we saw a half-finished school, which we were there this morning, and we believed that we could help and build a school. But when we actually sat down with the elders over the fire, first of all, they wanted a fair price for their coffee. Their coffee is absolutely unique, as in Harar coffee. The second thing they wanted was a water project or water pump to their village. And we were so surprised because we didn't assume the water, we just assumed the water came from somewhere.
The basic need for water was a shock to the Irish group. For each of them, it was an eye-opening journey of endurance and emotion.
It's 5 hours over roads that we wouldn't even consider roads. And there's no way you could get there except the 4-wheel drive. And even that at times was challenging. You know, somebody had said before we went up to the mountains that it was bandit country, that it was lawless. But it could be nothing further from the truth, you know. It really is. They're delighted to see you. They give you a very warm welcome. They welcome you into their homes. And you know, after just spending 2 days with them, you know, you make a connection with them that would never ever leave you. It just leaves a lasting impression on how you'd look at coffee making and how you'd look at your own life in every way. I mean, the basic things that we have back home, like water. You don't understand how important water is in your life until you go without it, as we did for a few days. My God, the amount of it that we waste would keep the country going here. It's quite remarkable. I think that you know, we spoke to people in the village that, you know, a bucket of clean water every day, which would just literally change their lives and in most cases save their lives.
Coffee is the main product of the Harar district of Ethiopia. Coffee starts out not as a bean, but as a fruit, like a cherry, which usually contains 2 beans. It's then harvested, dried and roasted before it's marketed. The Irish group was introduced to the region by the Connect Ethiopia organisation. The principles of fair trade are central to all the businesses represented by the group. Fair trade is an internationally recognised approach to trading which aims to ensure that producers in poor countries get a fair deal. This includes a fair price for goods and services, decent working conditions, and an ongoing commitment from buyers so that there is reasonable security for the producers.
The whole aspect of fair trade and getting a fair price for their coffee is really what the farmers need. They have so little, and to get that little extra few pence on the fair trade side of it and to get a fair price for their coffee is something that is, I believe, totally essential. And certainly I would be a firm believer that the more effort is put into getting the farmers a fair price for their coffee, that little bit extra will bring about a tremendous amount of change.
Part of that change had to be the supply of water to the people, so the Irish group looked into the provision of an effective water system. The existing resources were meagre and chaotic.
We were amazed at the water plant, the whole chaos that reigned there. There seemed to be no system. People were fighting for water, and it was very sad to see We talked to one man who said he only ate every second day, and the whole area seemed to be somewhat on the brink and out of control.
When we were here 3.5 years ago, the village was much smaller, it was less commercial, and it looked like there was half the population. Now Tedeschi's saying there's at least 10,000 people will benefit from the water project, and the pain and misery and suffering of carrying water by the women is absolutely horrendous, and we're just aware of that today. The guys and the people here are living so close to the edge. It shocked us.
We made a commitment before we left that village. Our emotions were running very high. We cried, every one of us cried when we left that village and saw what those people had, and we vowed that we would go back and do something.
In Ireland, the group raised money for Ilidaratu. Plan International was engaged to project manage the difficult task of providing a water system for the village. The nearest borehole was more than 5 kilometres away. A well, a water treatment plant and a pipeline were planned to get water to the village. After 3 years of effort, the well is bored and capped, but only part of the pipeline is in place. There is more work to be done.
The project is, I would say, about 2/3 of the way through. Just think of what we had to do, what the people here had to do. We drove the equivalent from Dublin to Newry on a dirt road to get to a place that has no electricity. So how do you even start building anything? How do you even get materials like pipes and so forth across that kind of terrain? Anyhow, we've got to where we are. So these people at some stage are going to have running water. That even if water only runs just a few feet, that's all that's needed.
The population is after increasing dramatically there again. The conditions are absolutely appalling. But the one thing we can bring them is hope, because if they haven't got hope, they have absolutely nothing.
I believe that there's tremendous potential for Ethiopia. The sad thing is that they're always just on the brink of a famine because of the lack of water, and that's why I believe that more effort should be made to get them water.
Ethiopia taught me one lesson, just one lesson, the value of running water. Just how valuable it is.
We stuck to our word. We helped the village. It's just hard to take the misery and the conditions and the poverty. It's very hard to take it after 2 days and living with them, and then to see how generous and how welcome they are. But just love to see the project finished. I'm probably not going to give up.
For those who visited Ilidaratu and experienced the warmth and hospitality of its people, giving up is not an option. The completion of the water project is essential for the village. After all, water is fundamental to human existence. Making this precious liquid available and accessible is the key to changing the lives of the 10,000 people of Ilidaratu.